she would break it down properly, and then you would know how important mental health is. Let me welcome this morning Aisha Adams, the therapist, coach, counselor, writer, public speaker. More still coming, but good morning, Aisha.
Good morning.
So, for this morning to begin this conversation, let's just help the listener have a sense of what we mean by mental health, aside from this slogan or label that has gone across now for some persons to have excuse not to be told what to do. They just say, my mental health, I plead it.
So, mental health is basically how we think, feel, and act. Not to complicate it.
Mhm.
There's a longer definition, but yeah, the shorter of it is mental health is anything that affects your emotional health, your psychological health, your social well-being. So it would, if anything affects your mental health, it could prevent you from being sociable. So speaking to people in proper way. You have some people, being hyperactive in certain social situations. You have people that struggle with being able to interact with people. They cower to, like, they go to a small section of the space. They don't want to talk to people. There are probably things that they're going through that you don't realize. And then a lot of the time, because we don't really understand this, we judge them. We assume that their action is directly proportional to something that they're feeling against us. It's not always about you, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So, if that is what it is, then we cast our mind back until recently. It just doesn't feel comfortable for us to sit like this and begin to talk about mental health because it seems like you're drifting to that point. That's a not case. That's why do we as a society have that issue whenever the word mental health is being talked about?
I think it's because we don't really understand what mental health really is. I usually like to say that mental physical health is closely linked to our mental health. Just the way you would not, there's this myth that everything has to be spiritual. We go the spiritual route every time there's an issue or when something happens. But the reality is that if you have malaria, or you have typhoid, or you have any regular illness, it's you will go to the hospital, right? The same way you go to the hospital for your physical health, you have emotional health that you need to cater to. You have mental health that you also need to cater to. And catering to them means that you care for it, you nurture it, you feed it the things that it needs to feel healthy. Do you understand?
Hmm.
And all of these aspects of health, are important because one supports the other. In fact, a lot of the time, most of the physical health issues that we have actually stem from mental health issues. Mental health has been linked to asthma, it has been linked to arthritis, it has been linked to cancer. And there is a current rise in cancer. So perhaps what we really need to, turn focus from is away from this, extra focus on our physical health. And we need to start looking at the root cause of these physical health issues. If we did that, perhaps we will understand better. So mental health is really not this myth of, oh, if you're spiritually conscious you would not have mental health issues. Just like you would have physical health issues if you were spiritually conscious, is the same way you would have mental health issues if you're spiritually conscious. So we need to turn focus away from spirituality to the reality of the fact that we're human and we fall ill in all other aspects of our health.
I would get to the theme of this year's discussion and probably celebration, but I'd like us now to begin to look at what are those things we can do to preserve our mental health from going across the line and then.
So prevention, they always say, is better than cure, right? So I will just give a few tips. First is exercise. And we're living very sedentary life at the moment. A lot of people, you just move from sitting in the car to sitting in the office to sitting literally all day, and that's not really good for our health. It's important that at the minimum you walk around 10 minutes, walking like that. That's basic exercise that I can recommend. And I know when we say exercise, some people start to think, oh, I don't really like exercise. You don't need to go to a gym to exercise. You can just do some things in your house that just keeps you active, because that activity would help you secrete certain hormones that would help you feel good about yourself. And that feel good hormone is important, especially in our very stress packed society where we continually produce cortisol, excess amounts of it. You need something to counter that. The second thing I would talk about is our diet. We don't pay attention to our diet. especially fruits and veg. And the public health recommendation for fruit and veg is 5 fruits and veg a day. A day.
Vegetables, you mean?
Yes, vegetables. So 5 fruits and vegetables a day. That's the public health recommendation. How many of us eat 5 fruits and veg in a week? How much more in a day? So we have to incorporate fruits, vegetables, and water. Water is super important for our brain. The brain functions with water. You need to take a minimum of 1 to 2 liters of water every day. Because I hear people say things like, "Ah, I don't really like water. It's tiring." Think
Please,
of
you know that water part, so it doesn't look like it's Omashaye always telling you, because that I would always even tell them to drink water. But please drive that water point home for me very well.
water is super important. Like, it cannot be overemphasized. Its importance in brain health. So you should, in fact, when you wake up in the morning, you should start the day with drinking a bottle of water, a cup of water at the minimum. Drink water. You need to flush out toxins and all of those things. Your brain health needs it for fluidity. Do you understand? So you need to drink water. Water is super important. So when we talk about diet, we're talking about food. We're talking about eating all the classes of food. You have different people coming up with different diet regimes. There's this thing now. There's this, thing of everybody wanting to look a certain way. But do not look a certain way at the detriment of your health, especially your mental health. Because once you lose it, that's it. Once you cross the line and you become clinical, most times it's just management afterwards. So prevention is always better than cure, especially for emotional and mental health issues. Other thing I would say is sleep. We're very sleep deprived. And one thing I ensure is, if I have a very busy week, I make sure the weekend is quiet. I sleep extra. I take in, extra hours of sleep just to try and, stabilize my body. But how many of us, when was the last time you had, 7 hours of sleep? Sorry, I mean 5 hours. Sorry, I mean like 3 hours. Some people barely sleep up to 3 hours a day. This is not healthy at all. At all. It's important that you sleep, because during the periods of sleep, we're able to repair whatever it is that has been damaged in the course of whatever it is that you did. That was unhealthy. Another thing is relaxation. It's important to have relaxation techniques. This thing where we feel like, the moment we're edgy or we're upset, we need to just have an outpour, and people and it usually results in verbal abuse, physical abuse, and all of those kinds of things. It can be managed, better managed, if we explored relaxation techniques. I would also talk about self-care breaks. For people that follow me on Instagram, there are times I just do a video and I call it self-therapy vlog, and what I basically do is do a video of myself in a self-care space. And what I try to do with that is try to encourage people to take care of themselves. And I have found people reach out to me. In fact, some of my friends have reached out to say, those videos actually has encouraged me to start taking care of myself. You must fill your cup. Like, I always talk to people about the importance of filling their tank. Like, it's like the times where you find yourself excessively upset, unnecessarily touchy and edgy, it's usually not really about what people are doing to you. It's about the fact that you've already hit breaking point at that point. And rather than look inwards and say, what's going on with me? Why am I so edgy? You turn the focus on other people and say everybody else is, yeah.
So this brings me to picking up all of the points from everything you've said so far. But let me just let the listener know they can get to be part of this discussion this morning on mental health. They celebrating with a theme. Saying that mental health is a universal right. That's the theme for this year, and how important it is. And so just let's have your thoughts on 0809 444 0981 WhatsApp messages. Then you'll be able to call in shortly on 01 448 9981. So from everything you said, it's been, we would get to call in. Just please give us a moment to just lay the foundation, and then we'll bring you in shortly. But once again, it's on 01 448 9981. Aisha, help me understand this part. From the things you talked about, I could take out lifestyle.
Yes, definitely.
Very important to
Super.
safeguarding your mental health.
Yes.
I've seen where food lies now, and food is also part of what can be part of it. Then you've talked about water.
I was even going to talk about alcohol.
Okay.
People need to cut down or not drink alcohol, and this is not. This is.
But then some persons, I know when we go, definitely some persons might begin to tell you, but that is the way we push this mental health and balance it. But Talk to us
it
about that.
honestly, alcohol, I was watching this neuroscientist talk about the negative effect of alcohol. In fact, he used the word it fries the brain, and that was very it was very deep for me. I was like, fries the brain, that's how serious alcohol is. And he said, rather than take alcohol, drink water all the time, and so I cannot overemphasize the importance of, water and lifestyle. But alcohol intake is another thing that I see has negative effects. People use it to um subdue the challenge. So alcohol smoking, they use it to subdue, but it only has a temporary effect. The real thing is to face what is causing the challenge, what is causing the depression. We have this thing where we struggle with embracing vulnerability, embracing the fact that we are not superhumans. We all need help, we all need support. And so the other thing I would say is that if you find yourself in those situations where you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, you just speak to somebody, speak to a professional, speak to someone that you write about it, let it out, but not having an outlet for those emotions, not caring for yourself, not doing things that can bring you relief, or that can bring you joy. Look for something that makes you happy aside from negative lifestyle choices and do it, and it will definitely improve your mood.
This is leading us to the impact of stress and depression as a fallout of this conversation we're having, responsible for what you call people getting into that mental health breakdown in itself. But what we've got left isn't enough time for you to get this conversation across. So we'll pause for the green light to allow this traffic flow. And then when we come back, you explore it. I've seen a message there that is also making you understand that, look, see, with all of this in this country right now, where is the time to rest? So you see the connection between stress, depression, and all what he said. But that will be after this time out. You're on to Lagos Talks 981 on Smooth 98.1 FM. My name is Omasheye Ashenua. My guest, Aisha Adams, a therapist coach, a counselor, writer, public speaker, is still breaking it all down for us. Stay tuned.
We are your dynamic, non-interest bank that truly cares about your financial progress. If you desire ethical prosperity, our project finance, small business facilities, individual savings products, and electronic banking solutions are carefully tailored to provide you with superior banking experience delivered in the most ethical and responsible manner. At Lotus Bank, it is partnership for progress. We share your risks and profit, making it a must-win for all. Open a Lotus Bank account today or use any cashless platforms, ATMs, mobile banking, or internet banking to enjoy seamless transactions. Contact our 24/7 call center. Dial 07000 Lotus Bank, which is 07000 56887 or visit www.lotusbank.com. Lotus Bank. Partner. Progress. Prosper.
Before, their problem is say our shoulder too high. They say make we lower our chest. Now, they wonder why we know they ever lack airtime, credit, and data on top of our glow line. Whether cash
It's going well. I like the conversation.
we know they call ourselves digital generation for nothing. I be to get airtime, credit, and data. Take sell plenty market every day.
You should
No
pay him
stop.
for your
Now your
data.
mates, whether cash you get our hand or you know deal. We could just buy data and airtime
Let's
credit.
go. We'll be back shortly in less than, let's say, less than a minute. We're back.
No cash, no wahala. Yes, so cashless recharge on the go, anytime, anywhere, no stress, no shake, no wahala.
So when you break down that stress issue, then we can now get.
So what do you want me to break down? What
We're
causes
going to
it?
talk about stress, depression, and how
What
it
causes
contributes.
it?
That's what causes it, and how it impacts the mental health.
So my plan is just to go into depression because
Okay.
people, yeah.
All right, no sir, just
So there are a number of causes I would like to talk about.
It's not your typical sport.
Brazil today maintaining a very proud record. The only
This
nation
is
to
the
qualify.
game that puts you at the edge of your seat, close to your radio.
got a message here already saying the wife is psychologically imbalanced and currently at Yaba for rehabilitation. So I
Sends
told
the
you, get
world
ready.
into frenzy.
Yeah?
There's a practical case here for you. So I told you.
Movie finishes.
So let's go.
This is your game. Total Football. Get in-depth football analysis on top matches here on Smooth 98.1.
It's all over.
Total Football now on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 11 a.m.
We're back. We're Smooth 98.1 FM. 18 minutes already gone past the hour of 9 o'clock. It is the 10th day of October 2023. I still got my guest here, Aisha Adams, here speaking to us on the theme of this year's World Mental Health Day. With the theme, mental health is a universal right. Till this moment, I guess most persons never saw it as that. Still talking about freedom of movement as what they see as, even fundamental human rights. Mental health is part of it. But before we went on that for the green light to get the traffic over with, we were going to delve into how stress, depression now robs one of what you call the mental health balance.
What are some, I think, to look at stress,
Yes.
let's just look at some common causes of stress. What are some of the common causes of stress in our society? One of them is our relationships. Relationship is one major cause of stress. It impacts negatively on a lot of people, and a lot of times you have people managing relationships they have no business being in. Either spousal relationships, or even before it becomes a spousal relationship, why you they're managing him because you must get married. Yes, you must get married, but not to someone that is toxic, and not to someone who is going to, down the line, cost you mental instability. Second reason, poor nutrition. Goes back to lifestyle that we talked about. So if you maintain good nutrition, it would help you. It would cushion the effect of the stress that comes into your life now and then. Another thing is job pressure. Yes, we have a lot of people under pressure, and this is why it is important for you to speak to your HR to tell them to incorporate, stress relief, programs, mental health, support programs in what they do to you to help you increase your productivity. Organizations now need to look into that because it's important. If you want more people to be productive, you need to incorporate that. Then there is job and money. Those are major causes of stress. And at the end of the day, it is not really the money that causes the stress. It is your thoughts, the negative thoughts that you associate with money. Because your thinking is one of the major things that causes depression. It's like you're sitting with yourself and saying, I've lost my job now, and so things are not gonna be good again, and da 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 da. The same person, someone else lost their job, they have a different approach to it. So really, it's about how you approach life situations, life stressors. And there's also the thing of childhood trauma. A lot of times, some of the things that are happening later on in life are actually, they go back to something, an abuse, a traumatic event you witnessed when you were younger, something that you should have healed from, that you never really worked on. And then there's family history. Some people have a family history of depression and stuff like that. Somehow it's in your genes, and so you need to be more careful. You need to pay more attention. You need to ensure that your self-care practices are up to date more than anybody else if you have a family history of those kinds of things.
This is the point where we like to get to hear from the listener this time. The phone line will be on 014489981. You can call in and speak to Aisha Adams this morning, waiting for your calls to come in. But while you're coming with the calls, just remember, what in your opinion is responsible for more people having mental health breakdown, and why is society still feeling indifferent in terms of responding to mental health issues in both institutions and workplaces? Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Namaste.
Your name and location, please. Go ahead, Saji. You've got 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. I hope you will apply this to others. I would love to know, with the guest in there, that when does emotion comes into play with the aspect of mental health? And then again, when we're talking of mental health, okay, I know for sure that people can trigger something of such, but at what point will this come to play?
Thank you very much, Soji, for your time this morning. Well, let's Soji set the pace. 2 minutes, Colin. That's max, and let's get your thoughts in this morning. Discussion is centered around mental health. But while you call in, just have this question in mind: why, in your opinion, what is, in your opinion, responsible for the rise in the number of people having mental breakdown in society, and why the society is still not ready to have that conversation headlong, and so many other issues. But again, mark this out. Before we return to the questions Soji raised now, mental health is becoming, with the way it's seen, like people just plead it, and that's so as an excuse, and they just so they can get off with certain responsibilities.
So I think the question he asked is how do our emotions, what I understand from the question he asked is how do emotions impact on our health, right? And basically, when you have repressed emotions, because I would say that emotions are supposed to be oscillating, free movement, in, out, in, out. Now, most times when we have negative emotions that we have not properly processed, we tend to repress it. We store it in somewhere. And then what does it do? It starts to have negative effect on us because it's like toxic, negative emotions are very heavy. So it's like you're carrying a load. That's why when they say, if you do not forgive someone, it's more pain for you than the person you're not forgiven because you are the one carrying the load of the pain all around you. And then you carry it for years. Some people have things that they have, pain that they have had since they were children. So you're in your 50s and your 60s and you have suppressed a whole lot of emotion. At it gets to a point, it's like there's an elastic, you have reached your elasticity and then it bursts, and that's when you start to have all of those mental health challenges. So the thing is, emotion is directly, like, it directly impacts on our mental health. And if we do not effectively learn emotional intelligence and learn how to effectively manage our emotions, we would be at, you are more likely to have mental health challenges. How do you manage your emotions? Number one, you need to set boundaries with people. You don't give anybody free flow into your mind. Nobody has the capability to make you take an action that you have not already decided to take. And so the way you manage your emotion is that you think carefully about the things that you want to say and how you want to react to a situation. If you find yourself consistently being around people who anger you, then you have that choice to make sure that you're not constantly around them, even if they're your family. You can love them from afar. Number two is that you need to take, again, self-care breaks. Because when you take your self-care breaks, you have that opportunity to do something that you enjoy, which will give you positive energy back in your body, which will push out the negative energy to an extent.
Just to chip this one in, self-care breaks, could it be worked? Can it wait till one is ready to go on vacation, which is annual? I mean, in a very busy work schedule, I'm just going to throw that into, but
I think that self-care should be daily. You should take time, a few minutes every day to decompress, and then at the end of the week, take time out to decompress. What is it that has gone on in your week that has, lingered on, or that you still have a negative feeling about? What do you need to do about it? Therapists are not, or emotional counselors and coaches are not people you go to when things have reached breaking point. They are people you should constantly see, just like you see your doctor for physical checkup now and then. So I think the challenge really is that we think that it's something you should put off till when things
annual
have
vacation.
Yeah.
That I would attend to mental health and take out the closet and do the cleaning.
And another thing I recommend is journaling. Let out your emotions. I actually try to ensure that every day, or every morning, or in the evening, I sit down and I just take a few moments. What happened today that I just need to get off my chest? And I get it off my chest. Now, that's a simple way that you can try to do to ensure that your emotions are being well managed. But emotional mismanagement leads to a lot of the mental health breakdowns. So there is a direct connection. And so the more you are intentional about how you are giving your emotion free rein, the less the chances that you would have challenges with your mental
I've
health.
got 3 minutes to do this conversation before we head back again for the green space and get some traffic to go across. But let's see this one coming from Kende Olanigan, saying, thanks so much for this discussion. I'm facing this issue right now, saying his wife is psychologically imbalanced and currently at Yaba for rehabilitation. This is not first and second time of seeking rehabilitation. The doctor said she has not been consistent about using the drugs and coming for checkups. It's depression issue. Please, what can we do to manage this situation better? And I have the number and hoping, asking if probably he can get the number of the person, speaking this morning.
Well, what are her triggers? And if she's already on medication, it means that she's already clinically depressed. So I feel like the question should be directed at the person managing her case, and questions should be what are her triggers. They have to recognize what her triggers are, because if you don't know what the triggers are, then she will keep going in and out. And then there has to be people who support her in terms of reminding her about her medication. Those drugs have they have their side effects, and sometimes when when you do not have adequate support system, it might you might struggle to actually take your medication. So she needs to have her husband or family members or people that she respects supporting her, reminding her of how important it is for her to take her drugs, as will enhance her stability. And I feel the third thing would be perhaps they need to get another support worker who would speak to her now and then, someone she trusts, someone she feels comfortable with, to bridge the gap for them if they find it hard to support her.
We'll just throw in one more. Let's see. No. When we come back, I see Austin's message. I see Pastor Dako's message. So we can get in one message for the expert this morning, the therapies coach, counselor, writer Aisha Adams, speaking on the theme of the World Mental Health Day. And today's the theme is mental health is a universal right, is what it is. It is Lagos Talks 981 on Smooth 98.1 FM.
90.1.
OneXBet is offering a mind-blowing hyper bonus. Get ready for a gaming experience like no other. Place an accumulator bet and watch your winnings soar with our 1,000% bonus. That's right, 1,000%. So what are you waiting for? Visit onexbet.ng today. Use promo code HYPERNIGERIA to get a 300% bonus up to 189,218 naira and take advantage of the hyper bonus from OneXBet.
This is Smooth Breakfast on your dial. Just the way
We're back. We're Smooth 98.1 FM. It's gone now. Exactly 9:30 at the moment, and you're still on to Lagos Talks 981. Let's get this conversation at a point where we've got Austin waiting with a message for you. So let's see what Austin has to say. Drinking water is good for our health, but the reason why some people don't drink water is because they can find it difficult see where to urinate after taking much water. And that looks like the cleansing you're talking about of the system if they need to go use the feel pressed, right?
Yes.
And then it goes on about having long hours of sleep. Don't forget that government has taken sleep out of Nigerian eyes. Nigerians are awake during the day and much awake in the night, because that's when you will be seeing all your problems, like you're watching TV, Austin, from satellite. But interestingly, I didn't know this was going to be the content, how deep it would be in terms of what we're going to talk about. So earlier on when I opened up, I was letting them know when I started out on the show this morning at about 6. And I asked the question, have you ever wondered at some point when you go to sleep, the you inside you or your brain jumps out of your head and looks at you like you are sleeping? What have you done that you're even sleeping in the first place? So I'm just looking at it from that angle. So, and then I was also quick to let them understand, don't be harsh on yourself. The world already is harsh. Don't make it worse, but bring it back. This is what it is. No sleep anywhere. Economic issues, and you say they should sleep.
Okay, so has not sleeping helped you solve the economic issues? That would be the first question I would ask. Because not sleeping has not given you solutions. In fact, you get solutions when you sleep, because a good night's sleep makes you wake up refreshed. And with a clear mind, you're able to make more decisive decisions that will be positively impactful in your life. Life happens to us all. I think the real thing is learning how to manage challenging times. And the first rule of the game is take it one step at a time when life happens to you. When life happens to you, that's thinking fine to 10 years. This thing has happened. It means that the 10 year, my generation is, oh, no, 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 no. Don't do that to yourself. Take it at that moment. What's the next step? And continue to take that next step till things ease out. I have found that to always work in times of challenges. Second thing is find a support system. Find someone you can talk to.
Where did we find that? At the mosque or church? Where at this time? Where do you see our society being able to give support to people?
That's a hard question.
No, because it's most often than not when they're listening, and the next thing I know you would, if you wouldn't hold it back, you would say it. But then again, a listener would like, where do I find it? Find it. So where?
I could say that find one person. You should have friends. I'm assuming that you would have friends, at least one friend that you trust. And if you don't, that means it's about time you found a new circle of friends. I have that one or two friends that I can reach out to when I am choked up. I have my sisters that if I feel, really bottled up, I just reach out to my sister and I just rant. Or I can speak to my mom. I recognize there are people who do not have that. Perhaps we need to. This is a call to have more support groups. Actually, this is a call for mental health professionals beyond the charging. And I'm going to take this personally upon myself. To have support groups for people where they can just come and share problems at least once a week or once a month. Maybe if we had more of such, people would at least have outlets for their emotions. But I'll say that join a community. Maybe you have a professional community, you have a work community. Be in spaces with people, find like-minded people that are having similar issues, and you guys be support for one another. It starts with you.
There's something very scary too about, but there's a call we'll wait for and then get this across. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, people are scared of being vulnerable, of sharing.
Yes. That's
like
the
the
real
circles
problem.
you talked about now, your mom won't rat you out.
Yes.
Your sisters would not. They know that it's family.
Yeah.
So, but some persons are scared if I say it, and then the next thing, before walking down to the door, it's already out there. People see you and they begin to look at you like,
so okay, I have to be careful about this. Because I was going to say that I recognize that a lot of people
I'm
struggle
sure you've
with...
got a call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. We're listening. You have to speak up. Okay, well, we can wait. Just give us a call back. Go ahead, please.
I would say that in the days when I struggled with vulnerability, and something I recommend to clients that struggle with it, again, journaling. Journaling cannot be overemphasized. Your journal is not going to rant you out.
People can dig up your journal and then use it against
When you are done with the journaling, you can tear it up. At least you have let out whatever it is that was in your head. There are days I don't feel like talking to anybody because I could be quite private as well. And on those days, I just seek out something. And the irony of it was, I used to do this as far back as when I was in secondary school. That was when I started practice, without realizing how impactful it was. So imagine when I start to, study counseling and all of that, and I find that it is actually very effective. It's something I have always used when I found it hard to trust people or when I struggled with vulnerability. And I think that people should explore that. You could also record, rant do a recording on your phone, rant, or enter a room, hit something, something that, it will not cost you and it will not make you worry afterwards. Just hit things and just let it out. Let out that negative energy and then go carry on with life.
In all of this, the causative factors seen from our conversation, the pressures, the waves, the pressure from peers and everything, economic battering you from all sides, and then you feel like you're just floating in this big sea and no lifeline. That leads us to the question of the rise in suicide cases. Link that up as a breakdown of mental health factor for us and how we can get people out of that.
It's not really what happens to us that causes this emotional imbalance. It's how we perceive what happens to us. How is it that this person has doesn't have kids and she's happy? There's someone's call.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning to you, please. What's your name and location? Your name? GT from.
Okay, presently I'm in Aja.
All right, go ahead, GT. Let's hear you.
Yeah, she said something. You know, we are unique and different in our ways. What one can handle, the other might not be able to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Like you asked the question, you said, why is it prevalent? It's prevalent now because it is like there's also the pressure on people, expectations.
Mm-hmm.
People want to based on societal dictates. People feel some see themselves as failures,
Mm-hmm.
compare themselves. Like me as a person, she said, like when she was younger, she keeps to herself that time she doesn't want to talk to people. You know, I relieve myself looking for who to talk to. Once there's an issue, I call a trusted person like you mentioned. I am good to go. I feel it instantly. I
Yes.
say my state will not get to that clinical stage.
By God's grace.
Huh?
I said by God's grace, he won't.
Okay, I say my state does not get to that clinical stage because that's the end. The end to it. The fact is, people should learn to know what they can take. People should
Yes.
stop pretending.
Yes.
Pretending attack people. You don't target.
Yes.
Like my happiness is dependent on me. That's what I say. My happiness is not dependent on my husband.
Very good.
And my children, so they are attached to me. But the fact is that I fight them. And I'm cool. We will quarrel the quarrel. I will settle. Don't make my life miserable.
Yeah.
You understand? So my happiness is fully dependent on me. If I
Yes.
like that, to go a long way.
Thank you, GT.
And society cannot tell me what they expect from me. It's what I can do. It's how my life has been programmed. That's how it will be. We start living like that for an extent. And again, when the times are there, parents should take action.
Yes.
Most times they think it's spiritual.
Yes.
It's not right, hard fact.
All right, GT. Thank you very much. We have GT just speaking there now. Let's see if we got another one more call in here. Let's see who that is. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Your name and location. Your name is Gift. Where is Gift calling from? Oh, Gift. I really wish the line would, the quality of the audio would be better than this. Can you, let's give her one more try. Gift, where's Gift calling from? I'm sorry, Gift, just probably drop and give us a call back, and then maybe the line will be better. But you were going to speak on the suicide issues as the manifestation.
So I think that what she just said, she
And
was
that's
sort
on
of
GT.
yes, what GT said was already sort of responding to the fact that suicide is often, before you get to a point where you're suicidal, it'll probably be because you're experiencing overwhelm, you think you have tried everything, and like she rightly said, our ability to cope with challenges differs. You have a call, okay? So our ability to go through life challenges it differs from person to person, and I think that everyone needs to know what their breaking point is and not take on more than they can chew. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is to understand that it's okay to be weak. God has created us to be people that have weaknesses now and then. This thing where we're trying to be perfect is impossible, and it's setting the bar unnecessarily high and unachievable. And when you set an unachievable bar, for yourself, what that means is that you are the cause of the stress in your own life, and you need to stop that. I think the third thing is also something she has said, linked to something she has said, which is that stop listening to the market noise. Focus on where you're going, because this thing where you go on social media and you assume that the in quote perfect life you're seeing is what it is for people makes you feel like perhaps you are the inadequate person, perhaps you are the one that needs you are the one that needs to check yourself and all of that. And I think that it needs to stop. It's about time people stop comparing their lives and thinking that because it appears like somebody else is And it's the word is appears because the grass always looks greener on the other side until you get there, and then you find out that the grass you left was actually the beautiful one, and the one there was superfluous. I think that another thing is that when people around us are complaining of overwhelm, we need to stop shaming them. The real issues around mental health is the shaming, the discrimination, the abuse. People get verbally abusive and they start to taunt people and start to do all kinds of funny things and start to call them names. And people go to the extent of making people feel like they do not deserve to be on earth. After every small squabble, some small disagreement, people go to lengths to ostracize people from societies because they are having issues with them. These are things we really need to visit, because when you think about suicide cases, you'll find that these people showed signs of it. They talked about it. They indirectly complained about it in some cases, and we sort of just all turned deaf ear because we felt like our life was more challenging. And then until we hear that they died, and we hear the volume of what they had to put up with, and then we're like, oh my god, I should have done better, I should have known better. This thing where we call people out for choosing to step out of toxic situations has to stop. Someone tells you that, I've been in an abusive relationship, or I've been in an abusive marriage, and I cannot take it anymore. I think that divorce is what I want because I think it's safer for us. And then you start to guilt trip them and say all kinds of heinous things about them. It's unfair. Now, and the level of abuse on social media tells you the state of people's emotional health, because nobody in their emotionally stable state will go on social media and just spill rubbish, and you see this happen a lot, so verbal abuse, the kinds of abuse we see. And so it goes back to, how are we with ourselves? How are we with people? And something I tell people is, the first time someone treats you badly is the day you call them out. Because if you do not, you are showing them how you want them to continually treat you.
Looks like a fine place to drag in a message from Pastor Dapo this morning. Dapo from Anima Shaun saying, I would like to attribute the entire breakdown in mental health due to the simple fact of being unable to live up to someone else's certain expectation. And the truth about the matter is that some of these standards people are trying to keep up with also maintain are set by man, not by God. Really, in his word, exasperating. That's annoying, in other words. That's for animation saying that. But I see we have to quickly make way for the green light. And then when we come back, I've got this final question for you. It's relating to drug and how it has also contributed to breakdown in mental health. That will be our final call this morning. We are Smooth 98.1 FM, and you're listening to Lagos Talks 981.
You are just happy. This is the kind of show you like. People calling in and out. I can see how relaxed you are. You're just happy that I'll show you love, but you can love. That drug discussion, you just want to open another canker one.
Yeah, you're not scared to open it. Are you?
Whether it's for your local market run or a much-needed saloon visit, you can save on time with these easy ways of instant payments, because it's more than just paying.
What's
It's
a rough
allowing yourself
saying?
to
Each
live every moment
individual
to the
must have a
fullest
support
with
system.
ease.
She said so.
MasterCard
If
is
it's
widely accepted in Nigeria with
Cancel
contactless
session, terrorism
payments,
call.
the safe and convenient way to pay.
Okay, no.
Priceless. Africa,
So,
a home to 1.3 billion people, a good place for commerce, the hub of business.
We have been in Africa. Africa is one of our fastest growing regions.
Smooth 98.1 brings you a week-to-week exposition on doing business in a thriving economy from the investor's perspective.
If you produce a quality product, it will be accepted.
Turn ideas into reality. Discover market opportunities. Stay innovative and stay ahead of
see if we have anything on, if anything is popping up for us on Twitter, so we can throw them
from the
into.
experts in the
Just in
world
case.
of business.
Nothing, right? Okay, I'm good.
Tune in to Business Hub for everything business every Tuesday on the Smooth Drive.
We're back.
At 5:15 p.m.
Okay.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM. 13 minutes before we hit the termination point, and that will be 10 o'clock. But finally, we're gradually coasting on to the final stretch of Lagos Talks 981. So far, if you've been part of the conversation, Or probably you just joined in. I just would advise you make do with what you can catch up with, but just to bring you up to speed, it's today is set aside as a World Mental Health Day, and the theme for today is mental health is what you call a universal right anywhere in the world. So anywhere you go, you have a right to your mental health. And my guest, Aisha Adams, a therapist, coach, counselor, writer, public speaker, has been doing justice to this conversation thus far. Your mental health is yours to protect, is what she said. And from there, you can now begin to relate. It is from the premise. So you cannot give what you don't have.
Yeah.
So I was going to let you speak to us about the cases of mental health breakdown that you can trace to drug usage. And you don't need to walk too far along the streets of Lagos or the country where you find all of these cases. Reality or sanity has snapped, and we can't patch it together any longer for some people.
Yeah, what is the cost of the drug abuse in the first place? Isn't it distress
Yeah.
or overwhelm, and they feel like, and sometimes peer pressure, because some of the people that actually get into drugs don't really have issues. They are usually people from, okay, we think they don't have issues. I think that's what it should be, because we say, oh, this person is from a wealthy family, but then there might be pressures that they are being told, things that they are being asked to do that they feel unable to do and stuff like that. But the basic thing is drug abuse impacts negatively on the health. It helps them have more higher chances of having high blood pressure and stroke. It causes problems to their liver, their pancreas. It just gives them this temporary feeling of, oh, I don't have any issues, and then it brings them crashing down. And then when it brings them crashing down, they feel even worse than they felt before they used the drug. And what then happens is they want to continually feel good. So what do? They continue to take it, and they continue to take it.
That's like an escape.
Yes, it's an escape. It's a perceived escape. But the escape, is short-lived, because what then comes after the escape is worse than even the problem that you had in the first place, or what the negative feeling that you had that made you take it in the first place.
So it would seem dependence now in itself would lead to a breakdown in mental health.
Yes, because it becomes addictive. It's now treated as an addiction. And what are the benefits of these drugs? It doesn't have any, benefit, and not even the ones that they're using these days that are, just concoctions, mix up of chemicals, some things that people do, just to get high and just to have that escape. And there are better ways to manage these things, but it's lack of information. And I feel like I think that what you're doing at Small FM is fantastic. This kind of shows. We need to have more of this kind of, awareness. There needs to be more conversations around mental health. Like I said, organizations, where people work need to create, an avenue, something every month, that gives their workers, access to support, access to information, access to help, without being judged. Families need to start to pay more attention to the well-being of their children and all of that. Parents, we need to be aware. We need to give our children an opportunity to talk to us, to let out what they are feeling. Yes, we're stressed, they're stressed too. The level of stress in the community,
children stressed,
yes, but they are, there are things. Okay, when we were in primary school, so wait, hold on, think back to when you were in primary school. What were they teaching you? At the moment now, children in nursery 2 are taught the multiplication table. The first time I saw that, it was like, what? When did we learn the multiplication table? It was in primary school.
Yes.
So that is stressful for them. And they have to learn that. So everybody is experiencing stress at different levels. And families having time together where we just speak about our challenges without being judged is important. We need to start creating safe spaces in our homes, in our religious places, in our workspaces, in the places that we go, because we are human beings and we feel stress now and then. It's not really the stress, it's how we deal with it. We need to learn coping mechanisms for these things.
I would not be if I don't throw this into the basket. And the place of grief in when people pass on perceived loved ones, and how it can lead to people breaking down, and then we're going to have mental
Remember we
health
talked
issues.
about repressed emotions,
Yeah.
how we make people repress things, because there's this thing where we'll be like, oh no, don't cry,
Yes.
or you go, oh no, but he has gone to heaven. He has gone to heaven does not mean that I shouldn't, mourn my loss. Or a person experiences a very traumatic event and you're like, oh no, don't let people know, just suck it up. That's unfair. It's about time that we start to give ourselves the permission to grieve, the permission to mourn a loss for as long as the person needs, because our tenacity to, take on life challenges is different. So give people the permission to be themselves and stop using your yardstick as the map is not the territory. Your yardstick is not the yardstick for the world, and you are not the perfect example of how everybody should be. We need to stop making ourselves the perfect example until we start doing that. Until we stop doing that, until we start to give people permission to be themselves and understand that there is beauty in diversity and there is beauty in people being themselves. Yes, you can, bring in, corrections, but corrections should be constructive and not destructive. And we should be more kind to ourselves. This thing, abuse is celebrated. A person would abuse someone because you're their client. You'll be like, client is always right. I beg to differ. The client is right until you start to step on my emotional and mental well-being. You say, oh, I'm the boss, I'm paying your money. Yes, you're the boss, I'm paying my money. You can give me constructive feedback, but you should not do that at the detriment of my self-esteem.
Well, Aisha, honestly, I could just we could go on, when we have this conversation, there's a way you just get it across and it just feels like it should just flow. But at this point, we've come to how much we can take in order not to have a breakdown at this point. But thank you very much for what you do, and we'll be looking forward to taking you up on that word where you said you're looking forward from this kind of engagement you're seeing where you might be working on something, creating safe spaces to get people to come across and just let it all out. So we wish you well in that engagement as you step forward with that. But I've been speaking with Aisha Adams, as she the therapist, coach, counselor, writer, and public speaker, speaking on the theme of the World Health Day. Mental health is a universal right, is all it's been. We say thank you to everyone who's been part of the conversation from 9 o'clock till this moment. But we say it is time for us to bring the breakfast show to a close on Smooth 98.1 FM. Aisha Adams, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Omasheye Ashenua. Remember that your sanity, between sanity and insanity, lies a very thin line. Guard it jealously. Have a good morning. And up next will be coming Seun Olusegun for Strictly Soul, and then AY and